Hey guys, welcome back to the Prashant iOS Developer YouTube channel. I hope you guys are having great time working on iOS development. So today I'm back with one more video where I will create a complete project in SwiftUI just like before I have created this weather application and this bar graph view. Today we are going to create something exciting. I hope you guys have seen it already on the this thumbnail, but this is the app which we are going to create today. Here you can see that we are getting one COVID report from the API call and we are displaying that inside our application. Everything is in SwiftUI. So here I will tell you what we are doing. First in this text field we are going to enter the country name. So let's say India, and if I press return we will get the data for the country which we have entered here. So this is the flag we are getting. Then these number of cases, those are totally cases. Then these are the active cases and these are the recovered cases of the COVID patients. So same like India, I can get the data for America. Again, if you want to check for Japan, then you can check like this. And the last example will be Canada. So this is how this application works. Basically what it does is whatever the country name you type here, it will take that, it will add to one URL, then that URL will be appended with this country name and then we will fire it. Then through the async call we will get the JSON in response, and then we will display that data inside our this view, everything using MVVM. So let's get started and do this. So like always we will create a new Xcode project and I'm using Xcode 12 beta here. So make sure you are using Xcode 12 beta 1 and above, or beta 2 also you can use. Select iOS here, app here, click next. Then let's name our project as COVID-19 demo. Make sure interface is SwiftUI, lifecycle is SwiftUI app, and languages obviously Swift. Click next. Then I will save it on my desktop. Okay, so once everything is set up we can start. Let me just click resume here to make sure everything is working fine. Okay, build is succeeded. So as I've told you that we are going to use MVVM pattern, so we need the folder structures here for our model, view and view model. Also one more group we need, that is for our web service. So first let's create them. New group, model, view, view model, and one more for our web service. Okay, so as you have seen here in the demo at the start, that we need some data to be displayed which we are getting from the API response. So first let's create the data. So just for the demo purpose I have fetched already that JSON response and I have using this JSON viewer here. So on this website basically you can paste your JSON response like this here, and once you click on viewer it will show you the complete JSON how it is structured. So in our case what we are going to do is, here as we see that we want flag and total cases, active and recovered cases, so 4 things we need. And here is the flag string that we are going to use, then cases that are total cases, then we are going to use recovered and active. So we need these 4 values, so we need to create a model class for that. So let's get started and create first our model class. So for that I will need a new file. It will be a Swift file. Let's name it as country because we are going to get the country data. So let's say I will call it as country response. Okay, So let's start by writing the data. So first we'll create a struct for that. Country response, and this will be confirming to decodable. Okay, so inside this we need different types of variables here. First we need to use the case, so where we need cases, total number of cases, which will be of type double. Then we need where number of recovered cases, which will be again type of double. Then we need active cases also. Okay, now we have this. Also you can see here that inside our, so this JSON response is what we are getting. So the outside dictionary here you can see that we have these three values: active, recovered, and cases. So that's why we have given that name, and for that we have this country response, which is basically this response. But for getting the flag which we are showing here, we need to get inside this one more dictionary, and inside that we have flag. So for that we need to create one more struct. So I will create one more struct here, and we will name it as country info. Again it will be confirming to decodable. Okay, then inside this we need flag, so let's create the flag variable, and this will be type of strings, since it is here it is of type string. Okay, so now we will create initializers also for them. Let's create them. Before that I need to use this here, because we are basically going to get this dictionary inside this main response, so that's why we need to create this here also, and its type will be same, country info. Then we need to create the initializers, and inside this we will assign some default values for our variables. Let me just copy paste this to save the time. Okay, then for country info I need to create this like this. Same for this. Okay, so now we have our this model class ready. So one part is done, 3 parts are remaining. So let's close this, and now what we will do is we will create our web service, which will basically use this struct model to get the response from the API, and that response will be coming from the server. So let's create this now. Inside this we will create a new file, and this will be normal Swift file. Let's name this as COVID service, because we are going to get the data for the COVID. So let's call it same, create this file. Okay, so inside this now we need to create a class. This class will be again same, COVID service. Inside this we need one function, and this function will be responsible for fetching the data, so we'll call it same fetch data, and it will get some parameters like country name, which will be of type string, and also since this is an async call, we need to use escaping so that it will go out and come back once the call is finished. Escaping, and this we will get the response of country response, which will be of type optional, because it may happen that sometimes the result will not come back. Here I need to write the completion handler. Then in return we are not getting anything, so let me just close this with empty brackets. This bracket is closed, this bracket is also closed. Then we have this. Just let me check what is the problem. Okay, but here I forgot to add this @escaping was correct. Here we are getting country response and one more bracket, I guess. Okay, let me just type it here. Okay, there is some problem here. Let me just check. @escaping I have written properly. Country response, and this bracket we need to remove. Okay, let me just press the build button to verify if everything's fine. Okay, now we can start. So inside this, what we are going to do is, first we need to use the URL. So let's use that, and we need to check whether the URL is correct or not using the guard let. So let's do that. Guard let URL equals to URL, which will be of type string, so we have to convert it from string to URL, and this is the URL which we are going to use. It will be corona.lmao.ninja/v3/COVID-19/ I need to say countries, because I'm going to use country's name, / I have to provide the country name here, country, like this. And if it is fine, then okay, else we need to fire some fatal error you can do, or else you can just return nil. Okay, so let me just once verify if this URL is correct or not. So for that, what you can do is, you can just paste this URL here, and at the end you can type the country name. Okay, so we are getting the data, so our URL is correct. Okay, so next step is to use this URL to call the API. So we are going to use URL session. So URL session dot shared dot data task with URL, and here we will provide this URL, and in the response we will be getting 3 things. One is data, another is response, and third is error. Also make sure you call the .resume at the end, otherwise this API call will not execute. Okay, now we have our URL session call also ready. So now inside this, once we get the response, we need to check whether our data is correct or not. So let's do that. Guard let data is equal to data, and error should be equal to nil. If this is okay, then fine, else we need to again return nil. We are able to return nil because this model is optional here, so which means that it can return nil or actual data. So now we have checked our data. If our data is correct, then we can go ahead and use it. So for that, what I'm going to do is, I will say let response data equal to try. Let's use JSON decoder here, dot decode, and here we are going to decode from our this country response dot self model class, and data we have to pass, which we have just unwrapped here or checked here. Okay, now we have our data ready. Let's use it. If let, I will say country response, which is nothing but our response data. If it's there, means the data is not nil, then we can use it and we can return it. Country response we have written here. Okay, else what we can do is we can return nil. Okay, so now this is our web service which is responsible for calling this URL and getting the response. Once we receive the response, we will return it, and this actually will return to our view model class where we will actually going to call this API. So now as we have our second task is also done, that is creating a model first and then creating a service. Now we will head to our third task, which is nothing but the most important, which is our view model. So let's create it. Again, we need to create one file inside this, and this will be a normal Swift file, and what we can call is, we can call it as country view model. Then let's save it. Okay, so in this we need first import combine. I will explain you in a while why we are using combine here. Okay, so let's create our class. This class will be called country view model, and this will be of type observable object. So this observable is used, which is coming from the combine. Basically we are doing this because once the data we are getting, we need to publish that data, and our view will be subscribed for those published values, and once we publish it, our view will get notified and the value will be displayed on the main view. So I will explain you once I write the code properly, then it will be more easy for you to understand. So let's start. So as I have said, we need to publish the values, so we need to create first @published var. Here we need to create our country response, which will be nothing but our country response model. Then we also need to create private var our instance of COVID service, which we have just written. Then we need to use this inside the initializer also, so let's use it. Okay, so we have this ready. Now what we have to do is we have to start writing our properties which we are going to use here, like flag, total cases, active cases, and record cases. So first I will create this total cases, so let's do that. Where I will call it as total, which will be of type string. Basically here we are going to get in double from the API, but we need to convert them to string to display here, so let's do that. So here I will say if let temporary value which is coming equal to self dot my country response. I don't need this dollar sign, so let's remove that. Country response dot cases. Then this inside this cases I will create like this. Once I get the value inside the temp, then I will format it. So for that I will use let format equals to number formatter. I will use, so let's use that number formatter, and this number formatter basically converts our value, and it will finally will convert it to string also using the formatter. So let's use it like this, format dot here I need to use the number style. So let's use that number style, and number style will be dot decimal. Okay, so once I created that, then I can return the value. So I will say return dot equals to format dot, I will say string, and this string will be from ns number, and this ns number will basically takes one value, and here I need to pass my current value which I have received, that is temp, which we have got here. And let's force unwrap this here. You can check this value here also, but this is fine to be check here. Then once we get this value, it's okay. And else here also we need to write else also. So let's write the else part, and in this we can return the empty strings. If we have not got any value from the API, then we can return empty. So this is for the total value. Now the same thing we can use for next two values, that is just we have to copy this value and paste it, and we will call it as active, and here we need to use active. Then the third is recovered, and same we have to use here. So now we have got these three values. Now we do same thing, little bit different for flag. So for that what we have to do is again var, here I will say flag, which will be of type string, because I have to return the string. But what you can do is you can return image also here. Since we have to convert the string, we have to convert it that string to URL, then we have to download that image from that URL, and at the last we can return the image. So I will, instead of string, I will say UI image. So since we are going to use UI image here, so we need to import UI kit also, so we can access this. Okay, then inside this what I will do is I will do same thing, if let my temporary value which is coming from self dot country response dot country info dot flag, if we are getting this value then fine, else if we are not getting this value then we have to return the empty image. So let me first write that code, UI image dot init, which will return the empty image. And inside this what we will do is I will check the value which we have got, that is first let's say if let my image URL equals to URL from string we have to take, and inside this we can pass the temp value. Here we have got our URL string. If this is fine, then we can unwrap that data. So let's say let image data equals to try, and here what we will say is data, and data we have to take from contents of my image URL. And now once I get the data inside this, what I can do is let, here I need to finally get the image which will be equals to UI image, and this image will be coming from the data image data. So finally I've got my image here, so I can return it. So return image. So now we have converted our data. Okay, let me just check what we are missing here. Okay, let me just check it once more. Where, okay, so we haven't we have written else for this, but we haven't written else for this, so we need same else here also, because if we are not getting URL here also, then also we need to return something. So we can return empty here. Let me just build the project to see. Okay, build is succeeded, so we can go ahead. Now we have our data for these 4 values. Now we have to write a code where we will pass this string from the text field, and we have to call one function to get the data from the service model. So let's do that. So whenever the user type anything inside this text field, I will save that value inside one variable, or inside, which is inside my this view model. So let's create that first. So it will be variable country name, because user is going to type country name, which will be of type string. So by default let's assign it to empty string, and then we need the function. This function basically called a search function, which we are going to call from our main view. It will not return anything, so let's write it like this. So inside this, what we want is, we want to check the country name is correct or not, and we have to use it. If we have to format it also if there are spaces, so let's do that. So if let my country is equals to self dot country name, which we have getting from here, dot adding percentage encoding we have to do with allowed characters. Okay, and here I need to say dot URL host allowed. Okay, so if this is correct, then everything's fine, else we need to do something. But here I'm getting proper, so here I can directly say that okay, my country name is correct. Now I can do the actual API call. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm creating a different function here. This will be a private function, because we don't want any, our view should directly call this function, so that's a private function. Let's call this as fetch country data, and this is basically going to do by using the country name, country, which will be of type string. Okay, so now inside this, what we are going to call this function from here. So let's say fetch by country name, and country name we are getting here. Okay, so let's now use our this service which we have created at the top, COVID service, to call the actual this fetch data, which is going to call this URL and get the data for us. So let's do this. Self dot COVID service dot fetch data. Here I need to pass the country name, so country, and let's press the enter here, and it will give us in response the country which we want. So once this call is succeed, we will get our country data, and then we need to also check if it is correct or not. So let's do that. If let country data, we will check, which we are getting here. Okay, so if let is working fine, then it means our data we have got. So let's now update it using dispatch queue dot main dot async. We are doing this on main queue because whenever you get the data and you want your view to be updated, it is always recommended that you should do this operation on your main queue. So that's why we are using here. And inside this, I will say self dot country response equals to country data. So this country response is nothing but the publish property. So once we assign the data to this publish will fire, and it will send the notification to all the subscribers. So we will have one subscriber in our main view, and once that view will get the data, it will display the data on the main screen here. So let's now, this is all about our this main view model. Now we have our 3 functionalities done, where we have first created a model, then we have created our service, and now we have created our view model where we have just created the 4 properties which we are going to use, and also we have called one function to fetch the data. And once we get the data here, we need to use that data in the main view. So our main view will be nothing but a content view. So let's move it inside the view, and this will be our main view. So now we just need to use the values from the view model. So let's start creating our UI here. So before creating, I need to subscribe to that published value here. So I will say @ observed object, and this will be nothing but where country view model, so this is our country view model, and so we need to use initializers here. So let's use it. Okay, so let me create the initializer here, and inside this initializer we are going to initialize our this view model. Okay, so now we can start with creating our view. Let me just remove this part. And let's check if it is working fine. Okay, so we can start creating our view now. So inside view, what I want is, as you can see here, we need a vertical stack to put all the elements vertically. So let's create first a vertical stack, that is V stack. Then with this V stack I'm going to give an alignment, and this alignment will be center. Okay, now next what I want is, inside vstack I need to create a text that will be my title here. So let's do that. Text, let me just resume here so that you can see the updates on the sides. Text will be COVID report. Then we can format this. So for that I will add font style dot large title. Okay, somehow this completion handler is not working, so I will type the code fast. Then we need one text field, so let's create a text field which will first receive the placeholder, which will say that enter country name, and after this we need to provide the text. So text will be nothing but our this view models property, which is country name dot. We have created one property inside our view model which is country name, as you can see here. So we are going to use this one only. Inside our main content view, and this will be of type with the type dollar, because we have to update our property inside the view model also. So you can see here it is reflecting. Also we need to add some padding here, so let's add padding, and we need to add padding on all sides with 10. Okay, so now padding we have added. The next part is we have to use the text field value to search the or we need to send this key which user is going to enter to that function. So let's do that. So what I will do is, let me just remove this padding from here first. We can create our function like this. So this is basically when the user write anything inside the text field, and if we press the search button or enter button on the keyboard, then this action will be called. So that code we are going to write inside here. So this is nothing will be self dot country view model dot, inside this we have to call the search function. So it will call the search function which is we have written here, and country name we have already assigned through text field, so it will use that country name here, and it will call this fetch country data function, and this will basically call our main fetch data service, and it will return us some response. This response will come here in the publish, and this once this gets updated we will get the data here, and now we will use that data to display on our screen. So let's create the next part of our view. So before that, what we can do is we can format our this text field also. Dot text field style. Inside this we are going to use rounded. Okay, so it's not working, my completion handler somehow. Rounded border text field style. I hope this works. And also we need to provide some padding, so let's do that. Padding, let me give the padding of 20. From the all sides, so let me give padding from all sides of 20. Okay, somehow this part is not working, but we will try writing the next part of the code. Okay, so now we have created a rounded border text field style. Also we have given padding, so we can create our main view, that these 4 values. Let me run it on the actual simulator if it is working fine or not. Sometimes this doesn't work on the canvas view. Okay, so it is saying some problem here. Rounded border, let me just remove this rounded border text field style. No, it is not working, so let's skip this part for now, and we can run again. Okay, so there is some problem here. Okay, so it's working fine. We can create our next view. So for that I need as you have seen in the main demo, I need one more vstack to write or to draw these values properly. So let's do that. Vstack I will create, and inside vstack I will use image, and image will be nothing but a UI image, and this image will get the values of our this self dot country view model, and inside this we have our flag image, so let's use that flag. Okay, next we need to create a text. So let's verify if this part is also working, and if it is working then we can write the next part of the code. So let me run it on the simulator. Okay, so I will say here India, and let's see what we are getting in response. Okay, so our API is working fine and we are getting the data. So let's create the next 3 things. Those are our values. So inside this I will create a text, and I will say this text will have the values like total cases, and it will have the value, so let's use the string interpolation self dot country model dot cases. So I guess here we need to write cases or total. Okay, we have to write total here. Okay, just like we have used flag, now we have used total. Okay, now we need to just format it little bit better ways. Like we need to give font which will be of title. Then after font I need to give font weight, and this we can give as bold. Then I need to use other formats like line limit. Line limit I will set to nil so that it can take more than one line limit. Then I need to create the frame also. So let's create the frame, and for frame I need to pass width, and I will say width as 300, and for height I will say 80. So these values I have predefined. I have checked previously how it looks, and then I am entering this data. Also I need to give some background for these values, so I will say background, and in background I'm going to give color dot red, and also I can give some foreground color dot foreground color, and this will be dot black, and the last second last I guess multi-line text alignment we have to give, and again this will be on dot center, and the last part I have to give is corner radius, and this corner radius we can pass as 10 for now. So let's run it and see if we are getting this value or not. Okay, so there are some mistakes here. Let me just check. Foreground color we have given, do I need to pass like this? Line limit, let me check like this. Okay, so now now you can see it's coming. Let me just type the country and see if it is working. Okay, so we are getting our data. We need some spacing here, so let's increase our width to 330, and now we just need to copy paste it for the next two values. One will be, let's say, my recovered and active, so let's use active first, and at the last we can use recovered. For recovered I will use green color, and for this I will use orange color. Okay, so let me just check if we can give anything else. Here we can give some padding to our V-stack. Then we have this here, we need to say active cases. Here I need to say recovered. Then also you can give here, for this you can give medium font weight. Yeah, I think this is fine for now. Also what we can do is, here I need to change this to system size. This is one more way of giving the width, or say font size, to your properties. So I will give here as 25. Now let's run and see. Okay, so these views are actually stick to each other. So what we can do is, we can add some spacing for our V-stack. So I will say spacing of 20. Let's check. Okay, so our view is ready now, and we just need to check if it is working fine or not. Let's see. Click enter. Okay, and you can see the data is coming. Let's check for the different country. America. Okay, let me check for Japan. Okay, and the last, let's check for the Canada. And there you go guys, it's working fine. We are getting our data back, and this is how the MVVM works. So let's revise once what we have done so far. So basically we have this model which we are using for getting the response from our API. Then we have this service which is calling this URL and getting the data. Then third, we have the view model, which is basically a response for all the logic, business logic for our application. And country view is basically our view which is getting the data and displaying it. So that's all guys for this video. I hope you guys have liked this video and you have learned something new. And if you have any suggestions for me, you please mention them in the comment section below. And if you have liked this video, then please share this with someone for whom it will be useful. And for more information about me, you can see this is my Instagram, where I post daily updates about my videos. Also you can follow me on Twitter, where I daily post updates regarding iOS development. And also you can see that I have this GitHub profile where I will be pasting this code of today's video, and you can download that from my GitHub repo and you can get the source code directly. So guys, if you have any other suggestions for me, please mention them in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have learned something today. So thank you guys for watching this. Bye.